hold on to St. Helier, but if when we think we ought to be within sight of Guernsey we see nothing of it, we must lie to again till the storm has blown itself out or the clouds lift. It would never do to go groping our way along with such currents as run among the islands. Put the last reef in the trysail before you hoist it. I think you had better get the foresail down altogether and run up the Spitfire jib." The Seabird was soon under way again. "Now, Watkins, you take the helm. We'll go down and have a cup of hot coffee, and I'll see that the steward has a good supply for you in the hands. But first, do you take the helm, Jack, whilst Watkins and I have a look at the chart, and try to work out where we are, and the course we had better lie for Guernsey." 5 minutes were spent over the chart, then Watkins went above and Jack Harvey came below. "You've got the coffee ready, I hope, Johnson?" "Yes, sir, coffee and chocolate. I didn't know which you'd like." "Chocolate, by all means, Jack. I recommend the chocolate. Bring 2 full-sized bowls, Johnson, and put that cold pie on the table. Oh, and a couple of knives and forks. Never mind about a cloth. But first of all, bring a couple of basins of hot water. We shall enjoy our food more after a wash." The early breakfast was eaten, dry coats and mufflers put on, pipes lighted, and they went up upon deck. Tom took the helm. "What time do you calculate we ought to make Guernsey, Tom?" "About 12. The wind is freer than it was, and we're walking along at a good pace. Matthews, cast the log, and let's see what we're doing. About 7 knots, I should say." "7 1/4, sir," the man said, when he checked the line. "Not a bad guess, Tom. It's always difficult to judge pace in a heavy sea." At 11 o'clock the mist ceased. "Well, that's fortunate," Tom Virtue said. "I shouldn't be surprised if we get a glimpse of the sun between the clouds presently. Will you get my sextant and the chronometer up, Jack, and put them handy?" Jack Harvey did as he was asked, but there was no occasion to use the instruments, for 10 minutes later Watkins, who was standing near the bow, gazing fixedly ahead, shouted, "There's Guernsey, sir, on our lee bow, about 6 miles away, I should say." "Well, that's it, sure enough," Tom agreed, as he gazed in the direction in which Watkins was pointing. "There's a gleam of sunshine on it, or we shouldn't have seen it yet. Yes, I think you're about right as to the distance. Now let us take its bearings. We may lose it again directly." Having taken the bearings of the island, they went below and marked off their position on the chart, and they shaped their course for Cape Gros Nez, the northwestern point of Jersey. The gleam of sunshine was transient. The clouds closed in again overhead, darker and greyer than before. Soon the drops of rain came flying before the wind, the horizon closed in, and they could not see half a mile away. But though the sea was heavy, the Seabird was making capital weather of it, and the two friends agreed that, after all, the excitement of a sail like this was worth a month pottering about in calms. "We must keep a bright look out presently," the skipper said. "There are some nasty rocks off the coast of Jersey. We must give them a wide berth. We'd best make round to the south of the island, and lie to there till we can pick up a pilot to take us into St. Helier. I don't think it'll be worth while trying to get into St. Aubyn's Bay by ourselves." "I think so too, Watkins, but we will see what it's like before it gets dark. If we can pick up a pilot, all the better. If not, we'll lie to till morning, if the weather keeps thick. But if it clears so that we can make out all the lights, we ought to be able to get into the bay anyhow." An hour later the rain ceased, and the sky appeared somewhat clearer. Suddenly Watkins exclaimed, "There's a wreck, sir, there, 3 miles away to leeward. She's on the Paternosters." "Good heavens, she's a steamer!" Tom exclaimed, as he caught sight of her the next time the Seabird lifted on a wave. "Can she be the Southampton boat, do you think?" "Like enough, sir. She may have had it thicker than we had, and may not have calculated enough for the current." "Up helm, Jack, and bear away towards her. Shall we shake out a reef, Watkins?" "Oh, I wouldn't, sir. She's got as much as she can carry on her now. We must mind what we are doing, sir. The currents run like a mill stream, and if we get that reef under our lee, and the wind and current both setting us on to it, it'll be all up with us in no time." "Yes, I know that, Watkins. Jack, take the helm a minute while we run down and look at the chart. Our only chance, Watkins, is to work up behind the reef, and try and get so that they can either fasten a line to a buoy and let it float down to us, or get into a boat, if they have one left, and drift to us." "There are an awful lot of rocks out there," Watkins said, as they examined the chart. "You see, some of them show merely at high tide, and a lot of them are above at low water. It'll be an awful business to get among them rocks, sir. Just about as near certain death as a thing can be." "Well, it's got to be done, Watkins," Tom said firmly. "I see the danger as well as you do, but whatever the risk, it must be tried. Mr. Grantham and the two ladies went on board by my persuasion, and I should never forgive myself if anything happened to them. But I will speak to the men." He went on deck and called the men to him. "Look here, lads, you see that steamer ashore on the Paternosters. In such a sea as this she may go to pieces in half an hour. I am determined to make an effort to save the lives of those on board. As you can see for yourselves, there is no lying to weather of her, with the current and wind driving us on to the reef. We must beat up from behind. Now, lads, the sea there is full of rocks, and the chances are 10 to 1 we strike onto them and go to pieces. But anyhow, I am going to try. But I won't take you unless you're willing. The boat's a good one, and the zinc chambers will keep her afloat if she fills. Well managed, you ought to be able to make the coast of Jersey in her. Mr. Harvey, Watkins, and I can handle the yacht, so you can take the boat if you like." The men replied that they would stick to the yacht wherever Mr. Virtue chose to take her, and muttered something about the ladies, for the pleasant faces of Mrs. Grantham and Miss Graham had, during the fortnight they had been on board, won the men's hearts. "Very well, lads, I am glad to find you'll stick by me. If we pull safely through it, I'll give each of you 3 months' wages. Now set to work with a will and get the gig out. We'll tow her after us, and take to her if we make a smash of it." They were now near enough to see the white breakers, in the middle of which the ship was lying. She was fast breaking up. The jagged outline showed that the stern had been beaten in. The masts and funnel were gone, and the waves seemed to make a clean breach over her, almost hiding her from sight in a white cloud of spray. "Wood and iron can't stand that much longer," Jack Harvey said. "Another hour, and I should say there won't be 2 planks left together." "It is awful, Jack. I'd give all I have in the world if I'd not persuaded them to go on board. Keep her off a little more, Watkins." The Seabird passed within a cable's length of the breakers at the northern end of the reef. "Now, lads, take your places at the sheets, ready to haul or let go as I give the word." So saying, Tom Virtue took his place in the bow, holding on by the forestay. The wind was full on the Seabird's beam as she entered the broken water. Here and there the dark heads of the rocks showed above water. These were easy enough to avoid. The danger lay in those hidden beneath its surface, and whose position was indicated only by the occasional break of a sea as it passed over them. Every time the Seabird sank on a wave, those on board involuntarily held their breaths. But the water here was comparatively smooth, the sea having spent its first force upon the outer reef. With a wave of his hand Tom directed the helmsman as to his course, and the little yacht was admirably handled through the dangers. "I begin to think we shall do it," Tom said to Jack Harvey, who was standing close to him. "Another 5 minutes and we shall be within reach of her." It could be seen now that there was a group of people clustered in the bow of the wreck. 2 or 3 light lines were coiled in readiness for throwing. "Now, Watkins," Tom said, going aft, "make straight for the wreck. I see no broken water between us and them, and possibly there may be deep water under their bow." It was an anxious moment, as with the sails flattened in, the yawl forged up nearly in the eye of the wind towards the wreck. Her progress was slow, for she was now stemming the current. Tom stood with a coil of line in his hand in the bow. "You get ready to throw, Jack, if I miss." Nearer and nearer the yacht approached the wreck, until the bowsprit of the latter seemed to stand almost over her. Then Tom threw the line. It fell over the bowsprit, and a cheer broke from those on board the wreck and from the sailors of the Seabird. A stronger line was at once fastened to that thrown, and to this a strong hawser was attached. "Down with the helm, Watkins. Now, lads, lower away the trysail as fast as you can. Now, one of you clear that hawser as they haul on it. Now, out with the anchors." These had been got into readiness, and it was not thought that they would get any hold on the rocky bottom. Still, they might catch on a projecting ledge, and at any rate their weight and that of the chain cable would relieve the strain upon the hawser. 2 sailors had run out on the bowsprit of the wreck as soon as the line was thrown, and the end of the hawser was now on board the steamer. "Thank God, there's Grantham!" Jack Harvey exclaimed. "Do you see him waving his hand?" "I see him," Tom said, "but I don't see the ladies."